Hey guys, this is Lazy Raccoon with another gameplay coaching video, and today we're going to be reviewing a Shen Gold 4 one-trick pony. Before the video, he asked if he could learn how to improve on trading, CSing, map awareness, and map vision. So let's see if we can help him out with that. So to start the lane, you want to be thinking about a few things. In this case, his lane matchup is against a Darius, so you want to be thinking, do I want to push and go for the level 2 trade? Do I want to let him push and play safe? And because the enemy jungler is Olaf, we know that his ganks are going to be fairly weak early game, so in this case it wouldn't be bad to actually push it out and try and get some lane dominance, especially because he has Ignite here. I usually would take TP, just because Shen is like the king of macro, and with TP you can just be all over the place. But I've only played Shen a handful of times, so I feel like this person knows the matchups a lot better.
And against Young is like the what's it called? Like how my W like doesn't really block his real damage because that man's fucking abilities just.
The team comp is a little questionable without a main source of AD.
He does that little stupid ass fucking poke combo.
But you can't really control that. So it looks like we're going for the level 2 push.
Understood.
I should have fucking keyed right there. Man,
Since he started his Q, this is actually pretty good to push him in early and go for that trade, because now that he has Q, it'll force him to CS with that, and after you shove him into here, the next wave will slowly push back to you.
What's that too? It's just pain.
It must be done.
So one thing for sure you want to start getting the habit of is upgrading abilities with a hotkey. Like personally, I use Control and then QWE or R, and that way I can upgrade my abilities in the middle of a fight without even moving my mouse. And it allows you to upgrade your abilities mid-cast, which in a lot of cases can help you out. Pretty solid trade.
Enforce equilibrium.
First blood.
So for CSing, as melee, you generally want to hover around the melees quite closer, and be maybe on the top side of the map here, of the lane especially, because then you can lose minion aggro by just hopping in and out of this bush.
Enforce equilibrium.
First blood.
And I feel like right there as well, you could have been a little more aggressive, just because he's still level 2, you're going to hit level 3 like pretty soon here, and basically he can only Q you, and if you're right next to him, he won't get the heal off, and you're already in range to trade.
First blood.
Yeah, just like that.
I find them unworthy.
Missing the cannon here is really big. Always try and be mindful of the enemy minion's health and position yourself accordingly in lane. Like I think if you stayed around this top side, you'd have better access to that cannon.
An ally has been slain.
Okay, what happened to my screen?
Tread carefully.
At least the wave's pushing back to me.
Yeah, so it did end up pushing back to you, which is pretty convenient.
See, glowstone or redstone mixed up, that's longer.
Here you want to be thinning the wave a decent amount, so that way this wave, the enemy wave, which has quite a few minions here, if you kill some of these minions, like especially these three and even these two, it'll make it so your wave doesn't die right away, and it'll give your next wave time to come back, and it'll actually freeze
Oh shit.
right around here ideally.
It must be done.
Yo, Alex, the deals are like that. 3 mil, man.
Target marked.
You said what?
The deals are at 3 mil a dollar now, man. Poker.
Pretty good CSing on
That's
the
the
tower
time,
though.
bro.
An enemy has been slain.
Enforced equal.
So always try and look at the mini-map as much as you can when you see or hear a ping.
Equilibrium.
Not much you can do here to help, since you don't have lane priority and Darius is missing. But yeah, here I wouldn't even try and fight here. Just because Galio's pretty far away, the enemy cat is right there as well. Like right here, I would just spam ping that Darius is coming onto the sets, and that way he'll run away. There's no real need to actually get in range and engage. Yeah, especially since he pops the ghost here.
And Darius kills him. That's fucking tough, man.
You get up full health anyways, so it doesn't actually affect your lane. But I think... yeah, I think he would have been dead anyways.
And Darius kills him. That's fucking tough, man.
An enemy has been slain.
That's so fucking tough, man.
With honor.
So now that the wave is slow pushing towards him, since you have more minions right now in the lane, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just clear this wave as fast as you can and back and get partial items.
I find them unworthy.
So just for CSing, you generally want to stick closer to the minions, as I said before, and it'll just allow you to get the last hits a lot more, rather than like spacing away and trying to predict when the minions will kill it. This would be a really good time to back as soon as you hard shove that wave, because now Darius can just freeze it, and now you're pressured to either stay in XP range and try and get last hits, and risk Olaf coming up top.
So I
Yo,
go.
local.
Yeah.
Where's my job at, man?
Talking to them today.
Third level.
Yeah, just having the wave here is really good for Darius, because you're in range of tower hits. If he pulls you in, it probably won't start hitting you because the minions are in the tower range. But at the same time, this is just a really hard spot to be in, because now you're going to have a hard time hitting any of these minions. And you've already missed a couple because how it's positioned in the lane. And if you were to have recalled as soon as you shoved that lane, you'd probably be right around here on the minimap, And this wave, the enemy wave, would be slowly pushing towards you, especially since it's a cannon. And you get back for sure in time of the wave, probably to reach around that position.
So we definitely want to be putting a ward in the river. It is on cooldown, so not much we can do there, but maintaining priority in lane, as in having it shoved closer to them, is a pretty good idea here, just because it looks like our team could go for the dragon. So this, we gotta be a little bit more aware of the map. This would be a great time to just back off and just hover that bot side of the map. The enemy team doesn't quite get the engage here. Hard to tell if they're gonna dive. They are gonna dive. I would, yeah, that's a really good ult there. And then this is a great time to not recall, but you want to be there to help your team secure the dragon, because they basically need you at this point. So when looking at itemization, when you want to get an item, like when you have enough for an item where you can actually gain more out of it, you want to pick that up. Buying 2 health crystals here, once again, I'm not like super aware of how Shen has played out, how he itemizes, but picking up this portion, the Sterix, whatever this one is called, would be really ideal here, because then you can start loading up the passive for this item and gaining your permanent health. And it actually does a lot more than 2 ruby crystals. And then you'd also have enough for a pink ward.
Press on. With balanced steps.
So luckily we make it back in time for the cannon. A better way to farm under tower is, right now you can't really see what or tell what the tower is going to hit. It's most likely going to be the slow health melee, but you want to start prepping one of these melees, so at least you can get that when the tower starts hitting it. You end up getting it anyways, pretty nice.
It must be done.
Couple of misclicks here and there. That would have been a really good time to taunt Darius, because he did actually go in range. Anytime the enemy comes into about this region right here, if they try and engage you, you can easily get a taunt on them, and they'll take a couple tower shots.
Enforce equilibrium.
So right here, I'm not sure how aware you are of this, but in general, when an enemy is fighting in your own minion wave like this, you have 6 minions here. If you taunt him here, and ideally if you'd saved your W, if you taunt him here, he'll actually take a really big chunk of damage, and he won't even expect it either.
Target marked.
So yeah, once again, this is when you want to prep that other minion anytime you get a chance. You do end up getting it, so you are able to use Shen a lot more effectively. I'm actually pretty surprised that your team didn't go for the drag earlier when you won that fight. This is also why I would take
So
TP
we're
in the top
gonna hit
lane.
60 by end of the year, man. Mark my words.
Really?
immediately. From the shadows.
So every time you approach lane, you want to be thinking, do I want to push it? Do I want to freeze it? Or do I want to roam, look for opportunities in the jungle if your jungler's on your side of the map? So going to this, you can see that Set is coming into your side of the map. He's going to be clearing red, so he's going to be there for a while. He may be wanting to look into Rift, so it would be a good idea to just let the lane be neutral here, and then as the next wave comes, you shove that in, and ideally you can take that Rift Herald. It does take a little bit of practice, but being used to looking at your own jungler and how he's pathing
With honor.
can help you decide what to do with your lane. So I don't think he's going to be able to clear it very fast. So you want to generally let the minion wave stall here.
So cool.
There is no dispute.
I would really recommend, if he's pushing this lane, even though you have no minions, get a hold right here. Just stand around here. Let the minions hit you. You can even use your W to reduce that. And just stay there until your minion lane crashes with this lane. And it'll crash ideally around this area. And then you can just last hit there. You have full control. Because Darius can't really CS. Your Set's on the top side. So now you can either call for a gank, maybe even pink ward the tri-brush, and look for a play top. Since he ended up pushing you in, you weren't really able to outpush him at that instance.
There is no dispute.
So getting a freeze right here and just standing there would force Darius to be in a bad position. I would almost put my ward here, just because your minions would have approached him and started damaging him, as well as even if they didn't, if he fights you here, and he actually got a Q on you, all these minions would start hitting him. So I usually use wards to not allow them to lose vision from minions.
Find them unworthy.
So right here, he would have, I believe, I'm not sure if the minion saw him first, but he would have actually taken a lot of damage there, especially if he's not pretty unfortunate there. That was actually really close. I'm not sure if you really could have flashed for the kill there. But even going back here, Set's looking for the gank. You want to trade here, and if you trade and get up, like right up in his face, chances are, like right here, if you go in, don't fully engage with your E, but just go in and start making autos, pop a Q and get some autos in, he's probably going to start trading with you, and he's not even going to notice that Set's going to come up.
Find them unworthy.
Engaging with the taunt usually isn't the best idea because it gives them an opportunity to easily escape. Set should have been able to pull him in here actually. But in between autos, a really good thing you can do when the enemy is pushed into your side and you have your jungler coming is in between every auto, try and walk towards their tower while still getting autos. Just generally kiting towards this way, and that way you're constantly closing the gap even if he flashes. So if you keep kiting down, you could be essentially right here like the whole time, and he wouldn't have been able to get away, especially if you had actually saved your E. So at this point, yeah, you can't really force Rift just because mid had recalled. You could aggressively go for it, and since Galio's ultimate is up, you actually could turn that if they try and fight. But it looks like Set doesn't want to.
An enemy has been slain.
Enforced equilibrium.
And when you get a kill, or the laner's forced it back, you immediately want to shove out this top wave and do something with your jungler, whether it's possibly invade their buffs, maybe some of their camps. Just getting deep vision is really effective.
Enforced equilibrium.
Because if you shove that really fast, he'll start losing this entire wave. And I would normally place some deep vision like right in here, and that way anytime their jungler tries to clear a camp or even come up through here to gank you, you can see them well before your pink spots them. Almost every game I try and get a deep ward right down here. Really great use of saving the taunt for when Cat ults. You always want to look and save your E for when you can cancel one of their heavy abilities, heavy damage abilities, or cancel something that allows your team to deal a lot of damage and force them in a bad position. Kind of like the earlier gank, you want to save your E for when they're making an escape to allow your team to either close the gap or get closer to secure kill.
Our will.
It looks like you'll be able to get in there for a kill. I think he's gonna back off. Generally, I would have saved my E for the Katarina damage. I had a feeling that Katarina would have made it in time, but it was hard to say. As there's no neutral objectives though on the map, that wasn't really a bad play. Usually I would go for that too if I'm ahead. So Dragon is coming up in about 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
How do these people make
We aren't able to ult, so we won't really be able to impact the lane at all. You could shove in right here, right after this next wave crashes, and then you can just start pathing towards bot side.
An ally has been slain.
Darius is full health with blue buff, so I don't think you'll actually be able to crash it since he stayed.
This set is trolling, man.
Yeah, but it's pretty boring, like.
Galio's having a mental breakdown right now, bro.
An enemy has been slain.
It is pretty unfortunate when team needs start to tilt. The only thing you can really do is just say, hey, we got this. Just try and keep their mental game in check. Because most teams
I hate my life sometimes, man.
Yeah, most teams lose just because they start losing their mental.
Don't even go over there, bro. Like, why are you there? Well,
So their
this man
jungler is
missed
still
the plating.
showing in the river. I don't think there's any way Darius can kill you here, and you can still defend the tower. That was a pretty good taunt. That was pretty close. Looks like the tower did just barely go down.
An ally has been slain. ally has been slain.
You should definitely get in the habit of looking at the map before you ult. Just looking at a low health champion and ulting can put yourself in a really bad position, especially if they're going to die anyways. If it looks like your team will lose the fight, or it's a 2v2 and you being there won't actually provide anything, it could be a pretty big deficit ulting into that, especially when your wave's being pushed in.
Why would you ult, bruh? Some damage.
So definitely try not to overuse your ults, especially when you can start collecting golds, because here you kind of protect your team in the fight. I think nothing would have happened anyways, but you could be losing out on full waves top lane and full waves bot lane. And so at this point I would just be heading bot, since Yone already is heading top.
Bro, Flavio's just losing now. Oh
It looks like they're heading back bot. Interesting.
It has been destroyed.
I still think that you should have headed bot to force your bot lane to head top and hopefully take that tower. They do manage to find a pick in the mid lane. This is getting a little risky since Darius and Caitlyn and Olaf are going to collapse on them. This is when you also want to start pinging your ult, just so they know it's on cooldown.
I find them unworthy.
Enemy killing spree. Your team has destroyed a turret.
I think a big part of the lack of CS is just from misclicks.
Bro, he's at. Oh my god, he just keeps falling.
Who is?
Flavio.
So here you do have a warded. You could definitely stay and re-push that minion wave out just to get a better recall.
Our wills align.
Pushing that wave out would have given you a decent amount more time to get back into lane.
Understood.
So Dragon is coming up. You have your ult for this. So trying to get priority in the top lane would be really, really effective.
Without a sound.
Why the hell did McDonald's?
This is, yeah, when I would ult.
No,
It's unfortunate that they're putting themselves in this position. Especially right before Dragon. Putting on Cat here was definitely a good play. And then this, at this point, since you managed to kill the assassin and their carry, you want to group with your team as quick as possible here. I think you actually could have played that a little bit better by just flashing in to QW to save him. You would have been able to save the set. And it looks like you're going to pick up the kill on Olaf anyways. And here you should be spam pinging Dragon. always try and go for objectives opposed to chasing kills that you might not get or overextending lanes. So now, you could go bot here with your whole team, spam ping bot, and you guys might actually be able to take that tower there. Resetting also isn't that bad of an idea,
Enforced equilibrium.
but I think there's a good chance you guys could have got that tower.
What, nigga?
So now the only neutral objective is the rift. We want to be thinking, where do we want to be on the map for the next 5 minutes? And Yone is now mid. Galio's top, so it looks like bot lane would be the best. It's going to start slow pushing to us if we went bot lane. At this point, if Galio's top lane, that's totally fine. You want to let them have solo experience and solo gold. So you want to try and be on the opposite side of the map of an objective. I don't think they're going to be going for Baron in the next little bit. And being bot lane is the most effective thing to do right now at this point when there's no dragon up, because you can re-enter the team fight. And it allows your team to be in the general area of the neutral objective. So that way you can all contest that objective.
Here is opening the position.
Spamming your ult at this point, it looks like they want to fight here. Not the best idea. I can't tell if Darius is in there, but I think if all of them knew your ult was up in 15 seconds, they wouldn't have engaged that.
Let's touch her right now before she goes to sleep.
Killing spree. An ally has been slain.
So at this point, I would definitely be looking at the map, try and have as much awareness as possible when they're fighting, especially if your ult is up this quick.
Double kill. Shut down.
I think you could still ult in here.
An ally has been
Galio, I didn't quite see how low Galio was. If we were watching the fight, we would have been able to decide a lot faster if we needed to ult. I would say that would be the most effective way to climb so far and improve, is to watch the team fights before they happen and put yourself in a position so you can ult without losing any CS, as in like what you have here, pushing the wave so it'll end up bouncing back to you, or being a little bit away from an enemy with CC that can cancel your ult, which was Darius, but in this case he is in the fight. And that way you can judge a lot better if you can actually enter these fights and turn them, or just keep pushing. Because if you're going to die in these fights, you might as well just keep pushing. But I really think spam pinging how much time is left on your ult would have really prevented a premature fight.
killing spree. An ally
Because this ended up being really close. So right here you just want to be watching.
double kill.
Can I turn this? And then it does look a little iffy here. But I would definitely have ulted the Yone right away.
Shut down.
I think he could have survived actually, and then Galio would have seen you ulting Yone, and he would have ulted Yone, and you guys could have completely turned the fight. So being aware of your own team, which we weren't really able to be aware because we weren't looking at the fight. But if we saw Galio, which he had his ult up, and Yone, which is our heavy damage dealer, still in the fight, I think we really, really could have turned that.
Enemy double kill.
With balanced steps.
Alright, Ivan, I texted you.
Your turret has been destroyed.
So I would say that was probably the biggest mistake so far of the game, other than not grabbing that first dragon when the team fight was won. So once the solo laner enters the lane, just immediately start heading to his side lane again. Just so they can pick up the solo experience. So nothing is going to be happening for a while. I don't know if the enemy team will pressure Baron or not, but this would be a really great time to just last hit, stall out the wave so you can farm safely for as long as you can.
It must be done.
So you really don't want to be pushing here. Anytime they have around 4 or more minions, you're able to freeze it, and it'll constantly push into you if you hold it, and that would be pretty optimal here since not much else can be done on the map. So we can see Darius is top and Galio is resetting. This would be a pretty good time, since it's already shoved out, to just finish the shove. Hopefully they lose experience and gold from the cannon. And yeah, this would be a good recall. It would be pretty unsafe to try and take that tower down. And Galio still went top, so once again going bot would be definitely the most optimal decision here. He's asking for help. I don't think they can siege it. This is when you want to head mid and cover mid, so that way Lulu and Yone can head top, because they'll be a lot more effective at defending, whereas you'll just be kind of sitting there waiting to do something if they dive. So whenever I look at team fights, I want to see who is their biggest threat. Who can deal the most damage, and how can I prevent that? In this case, I'm not sure of the score, but it looks like Cat's fed. So our biggest goal here, if we are going to force this fight, since Olaf, I think he showed bot not too long ago. I don't think he's in that fight. So it looks like since our bot lane is collapsing, we can take this fight. But we want to make sure that we save our CC to cancel the most damage we possibly can. And in this case would be the cat ult. So ulting here, it looks like you guys can get an easy pick because they're clumped up. But once you waste your E, it's, I believe, a 10-second cooldown. And that allows the enemy team, as soon as that CC is over, they can completely engage your team. So unfortunately no one was actually able to cancel the cat when she ulted. No one dies here, so it wasn't actually that bad. But if you're always looking for who's the biggest threat at this moment, right now it's Olaf. He probably still has ults, but we just want to be looking who's the biggest threat and how can I cancel them here. That was pretty unfortunate that she got CC'd. Really, you can't do much here, because if you do, you're putting yourself in a lot of danger. Premature ignite would have actually been a pretty good idea here, because it stops Olaf's healing. It's good that you saved the E, but using ignite on Olaf here, as soon as he starts diving, you just want to get rid of him, so the rest of your team can help Galio out as soon as possible. So igniting him here, not using your E but using everything else on him would kill him pretty quick, especially with the tower shots. Galio ult comes in clutch here. I still would have saved my E there, because Galio had nothing. He already used his ult, his full combo essentially. Lulu is trying to recover, and you're basically trying to stall at this point, because you can see Yone is coming in. And so a little bit of miscommunication here. Set wants to go in, but no one has anything, and Yone is not in the fight yet. So you just want to stall. I think forcing that E caused Set to react to that and pressured him to follow up. It looked like you were going for the taunt on Caitlyn. That actually was a really close taunt, and that actually would have been a really good play if you had gone for that. So I didn't quite see that at first. You're trying to taunt the Kate. Very, very close. But as soon as you miss, since your team won't be able to follow up, you want to start spam pinging back off, wait for Yone. You'll have a much better time fighting them with Yone. Set gets right in there. A little bit of craziness happens. So now you guys should be able to clean up. It actually ended up working out pretty good. Lack of coordination is pretty common at this lower elo, so I mean, good attempt. So at this point, everyone should be heading Dragon. You actually don't need to be heading Dragon in this case, just because 3 of them are dead and your team will get it basically no matter what. So at this point, you want to be pushing out bot. So you got to be making these decisions, thinking, can we get this objective? Do I need to be there? And your team should be able to pick it up and kill Dragon within 10 seconds, maybe 15, and you won't need to be there. So in this case, you can essentially push out top for free and do some good damage on that tower. So you should get this Dragon for free. Olaf tries to come in. Not really a fight you want to be looking for after a neutral objective is being taken, especially since half of you haven't recalled since that last fight, and the enemy team has recalled and now they have full items, full health. Although this did work out, normally since you don't have vision of the other team, like, it could have ended quite badly because they all could have been grouped together, and in that case, it would have been a pretty disadvantageous fight. But Kat and Olaf were alone, so they kind of hinted a little bit. But if Darius had been in that fight earlier, it could have gone pretty bad. So yeah, Lulu's for sure dead. Good idea to keep running.
You feel good or you just tired?
No, I just don't feel.
So it looks like they're trying to siege. Galio really needs to reset as soon as possible. You're pretty much forced to stay in mid lane to defend the siege. Pretty surprised he went in on that. Okay, Galio's ult was up.
Why'd you go in right there? What?
Yeah, you didn't need to follow in on that, so that was a good
troll
decision.
As fuck.
When the enemy team is sieging, if the fight is 50-50, never ever go for it, because if you lose that fight, you're giving up tower, inhibitor, and possibly Baron at this point. So all you want to do is be patient and defend.
Yo, Alex, you know what to do, dude, when I die.
I'm recording, so relax.
It's your job to drop the final word.
So at this point,
Down,
you
Baron,
want to
bruh.
immediately go to a
We
side
can't even
wave.
contest.
I doubt they're on Baron here.
That's tough. Yeah, real quick,
Oh yeah, they
change
probably
that,
are
man.
now.
I don't have a ward, so.
There is no dispute.
Yeah, they're not on Baron. Since they're not on Baron, I would immediately reset and go bot.
We're chilling.
You want to be on the opposite side of the map for
this man's
objectives
fucking
as much as you
hybrid,
can.
Yes. Goodness.
Enforced equilibrium.
Collecting this wave, probably not the best. Your team was here and they wanted to collect it. So like I said before, you just want to reset, head bot lane, and try and control the wave, get a slow push going, and that way you can pressure their tower.
Local, what do you
And if they go Baron, you can answer that.
Local.
So this is a little risky. their whole team's up, but it looks like now that we know that cat spot and our team is grouped as 4 mid, if they try and push, you want to push heavy and take down the tower.
I don't know where anybody's at. My whole team is wrecking. Oh, Darius is down there. Kate's over there. Cat is down there. Fuck it.
Pretty good map awareness at this point.
He needs to run.
Just needs a little bit more awareness preemptively before the team fights.
Yeah,
So this is when you want to clear this wave
I'm on C.
and reset. Leaving that wave
You're on siege
like
right
that
now.
lets them freeze, and that puts them in a really good position because
No!
there's no neutral objectives for a while other than Baron. And freezing
Fuck it.
there
Let's
just
go,
gives
then,
them
I
free farm.
guess. We see how bad this goes.
If you want him to gank, you should stand pretty far back, like there, maybe even further to let the waves crash. I guess the wave is pretty far back, but at least right around here. That way, it forces Darius to be up front, because this isn't really an ideal gank. Kind of wastes Yone's time. I don't know why he showed there. So at this point, you should definitely be heading bot. They keep wanting to go bot. And this is when you want to freeze. Dragon's probably up in 2 minutes, and if you freeze here, you can build up a pretty big wave, and you can just start slow pushing it. So that way, by the time Dragon comes up, ideally, you can get the wave to right about here, and then it forces them to either respond and try and kill you and send at least one person, or you can take their tower if they're just wasting time. And then if you stall out here, you can also pick up a jungle camp and get even more golds, because chances are Set's not going to come top just for that.
Tread carefully. It must be done.
Yeah, they're probably on Baron.
So this is exactly why you generally want to be on the bottom side of the map. So that way all 4 of their players are near Baron, whereas now we have half of our team essentially heading bot lane, which isn't bad because Dragon is coming up now, but beforehand, if you were bot side originally for just a little bit longer, I think it could have been just a little bit better macro.
They're not.
This is when you want to be watching because Dragon's coming up. This is like one of the most important fights you want to win for the mid game. I think the ult was a little bit early just because Yone is in a position where if both of you guys come onto him, you probably can't pick up any more kills just because of the tower. So I think if Yone got to about here and he was like maybe half health, it would have been a little bit more optimal, because then you guys probably could have picked up more kills. And it could have actually baited them. You could have used Yone as bait. But it is hard finding that the time between ulting too early and ulting too late. Because if you ult too early, they're just going to back off, as they kind of did here. So whenever neutral objectives are up, you never want to trade a 1-for-1, especially when you can chunk them really good, and that way you can stay alive and zone them off. I think if you hadn't have dove here, you could have played as a team really effectively, like pushing them off, and if they try and fight, you guys could have easily won any team fight.
Fucking diving cat was worth it, bro.
A lot of playing Shen is being very, very patient and waiting till you know you can ult and your ally can still survive, and it puts the other team in a really bad position because you essentially use them as bait. Just comes back to decision making though. I think if you were more aware of
Sound.
losing, like if you had dove here and if you knew that you would have lost the dragon if you dove there, I don't think you would have. So it's just being more aware of, hey, if I dive right here, I will lose this dragon.
Go.
So now we have ult in
Is there actually
40.
a hurricane right now?
Pushing top
Or is that
isn't
just, like,
too bad. I still, like I said before, would have gone bot. Then you could at least try and pressure that tower.
An enemy has been slain.
So at this point in the game, you and your team should realize, and if not, kind of like help them, tell them, ping them. Darius is alone. He's pushing. I'm going to go bot so you guys can be there for Baron. And generally your team will be like, okay, then he's going to go bot. Let Shen take bot for whenever Dragon's not up. And it allows your ally team to kind of collapse where they need to and be there for the objectives, as I was saying before. So now, at this point, we also need to realize, like, the next fight gives up Baron and most likely an inhibitor, and we need to look at who's the biggest threat, which is Olaf. Cat is also a pretty big threat, and Darius is coming back into the game too, so this is actually pretty hard since Darius and Cat get resets. So saving the taunt is going to be pretty crucial here, and we can't use it on the Olaf. So in the next fights, it really comes down to positioning and where our team is opposed to theirs. But I'm expecting Olaf to come running in the next fight, and we want to just stick onto Olaf, so that way at least you can W, so it blocks all of his autos
She's dead, bro.
when he tries to engage on Yone, or even Galio, because he does pretty good into Galio. This you never want to be fighting. Set is trying to push top lane, and it's going to be I guess Nami and Caitlyn are dead, but it's still a little bit risky since they have most likely the vision advantage. Cat almost plays that really well.
Just started.
Yep. Good call. You recognize here in this case.
That Katarina fucking trolled right there. Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the kind of decisions you want to make immediately. As soon as you win a team fight, and even if there's stragglers, you make the immediate decision, try and get your team on one of the neutral objectives, and right away try and get some good tempo.
That Katarina fucking trolled right there.
So at this point, definitely be pushing bot or top. It doesn't really matter anymore. And try and get the allied team to group as 4, because this is the best time to siege.
Balance dead.
So this is a pretty good example of overextending. Their whole team is up, and there's only 2 of them. If they got picked right here, that would completely nullify any kind of push you have with Baron. So although you can't control what they do, you definitely want to be trying to help the other team to realize that it's bad to be pushing like that. Set's not even close. Yone is pretty far behind too.
It must be done.
And yeah, it froze. The game froze a little bit there on YouTube, but
Okay, so why is Lulu just up there?
exactly. And a big part of the game is, although it's not your fault directly, you want to do what's best for the team, and you want to impact the team and influence their decisions as much as possible. And like throwing out pings here and there can really change their mindset, and because maybe they're just not thinking, maybe they don't know Set and Yone are way behind, maybe they think everyone's grouped up and in range, but that's not the case here. And sometimes just throwing up a little ping can help them back off. This is actually a pretty good ult. Olaf just showed bot, so this is actually going to be really big. I think we can win this fight fairly easily here. Pretty good use of the taunt. I don't know if that actually hit Cat. It actually... Okay, the taunt actually did miss. So yeah, going into these fights, you never want to blind ult. So, since you don't really need to be in lane hard stepping right now, I would be 100% looking at this team fight and thinking to myself, when should I ult? What's the perfect time to ult? And how am I going to re-engage and turn this fight? Because panning to the team fight this late doesn't really allow you to effectively process what am I going to do in this fight at this very instance. So it's pretty hard to tell just because so we end up cleaning this fight pretty nicely. With 3 of them down and 2 up, you can't really siege this anymore. Just the minion wave is pretty far away. At this point in time, you want to be looking immediately to just clear all their jungle camps that you can on the bot side, and then getting ready for the dragon fight. Although, yeah, you guys still have Baron, so pushing this mid actually isn't too bad as long as you guys don't die.
Melee? Like, what are you trying to break?
Like, people are up in 3 seconds. This is just way too risky staying around for this.
Like people and aim through it with the gun.
Because you guys all want to get out and still be as healthy as possible.
What? I'm pretty sure you can middle mouse it.
Like here, it's not worth going topside. Dragon's up in like 15 seconds.
Like click in middle mouse.
And you don't really gain much. Like, sure, you push this out, but your ult isn't up yet, and you always want to correspond your ult with the fights. Yeah, and they're even pinging it.
Shit, that soul. I should have been there. I trolled.
Yeah, you kind of already figured that out. Just constantly, like every 30 seconds, or when you feel like you have nothing to do, just ask yourself, where should I be? What's next on the map? I think you guys can still clean up the fight. Good double man taunts.
Like, what is this champ?
Yeah, grouping for soul should be like one of the biggest priorities in the game.
Aced.
So after getting the ace, since everyone's bot, they should just push bot anyways, and you should really, since there's still a mid wave that's like stalling, you should generally push that out and then try and get that inhibitor. Because then you'd have all the minions attacking it with you. And now, I don't even know if you're really going to get the inhibitor, yeah. And now bot has to back off here. Ideally, all of you should have grouped to get mid inhibitor, but since 2 people went bot, that's when you want to just clear the wave and hope you get that inhibitor with the minions. So now at this point, the game is probably decided by the next team fight. If it's a 5v5. Now that your ult's up, you definitely want to be pushing a side lane, preferably matching Darius, so he can't push you in. You really shouldn't be mid in this case. And aggressively taunting here, even though you're like trying to look for a pick somewhat, there's almost no way you're gonna kill Cat with just Zed coming in. Like, sure, you have the Galio ult, but just be thinking before you engage, where is their team? And they're all out of vision. They're all spawned. So it's just a very risky move, because it's pretty unlikely that they're not going to be hovering mid. And if they are hovering mid, there's basically no way you guys can counter this. The flash was fine. You pretty much needed to anyways. So now that the team is collapsing, then you can get a good engage here. Going in, you want to be looking, what's the biggest target? It's the Cat. Now you, at this point, since Olaf is focused on your team and you need them alive, at this exact moment you want to focus him and ignite him right away. But ulting aggressively kind of put you in a bad position, whereas you could have been peeling. And that's kind of your goal. It's either neutralize their main damage, and if you can't reach them safely, peel for your team so they can survive and help in the rest of the fight. So I think that's pretty much the game. Yeah, they get the win off of this. So the biggest thing I can point out in this game is looking at the objectives and trying to match it up with your ult, and really noticing and looking at the team fighting preemptively, and even before they fight, if it's worth ulting, if you need to ping them off because your ult's not up, and making a little bit better decisions on those ults. The CSing actually wasn't too bad. The trading wasn't too bad either. But I think just managing the ults would be a huge improvement for this. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a comment or any questions. I'll try and answer them. Cheers.